On April 6th, there's a full moon in Libra. This is opposite Jupiter, and now Mars is in Cancer and Venus is at late degrees of Taurus. So while the world is raging, the inclination is to go home where there's security and comfort. What does this mean for you? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the full moon. It's at 16 degrees of Libra. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. So do you remember that scene from the second Addams Family movie? So that was the one where they were at camp, and then camp was a big disaster, and so the normal family is on an airplane and they're coming home, and so they're just, they're so exhausted because this camp experience was so not what they were looking for. And the mom, who's sitting by the window, she looks out the window and this little baby, which is little Pubert Addams, pops up and taps on the window. And so she doesn't say anything. She doesn't even react. She just closes the shades. That's the energy that we're doing now. We just want to shut out the world. So we all know this is a volatile time, and I don't even have to list all of the things that are going on. There are plenty of videos for that. So it's just that we know that this is not the end, that this is not going to calm down, because up ahead, we have a solar eclipse coming in 2 weeks, April 20th, so I don't know when you're watching this. We have a lunar eclipse on May 5th. There's going to be planets going retrograde, and so this volatility is going to continue. And this is a rabbit year, and of course, in a rabbit year, there's an inclination to go home, to stay where there's safety, to stay where there's comfort, and the reason for that is because there is a storm raging outside. But as we are coming out of what we've already been experiencing this year, and we're ready to shut that window and just shut out the world, we might be shutting out a great opportunity. And that's what I want to talk to you about. So this full moon is ruled by Venus. And that's because that this full moon is in Libra, and Venus rules Libra. Now, this Venus is currently traveling through Taurus, which is a master at manifesting. At the same time, the sun is moving to conjunct Jupiter, and Jupiter, being the largest planet of the solar system, is these opportunities get expanded. So when the sun conjuncts Jupiter, that is an expansion of your talents and your abilities, your opportunities. And so here we have a planet of manifestation along with an enhanced sun, because it's conjunct Jupiter, giving you an opportunity to manifest something really big. But because Mars is in Cancer, which rules home and family, and Venus is in Taurus, which loves comfort, there's just this desire to just slide into some routine for the next couple of weeks where you're not doing anything, where you're taking a break, where you are shutting the window and letting whatever happens in the world happen. But that also means you could be missing opportunities. So here's how to use this energy. First, we want to get into this feeling of Sun conjunct Jupiter, and that's a feeling of abundance. So we want to consider how abundant the universe is, or even just this planet, how abundant it is. There's so many opportunities, and I know that, in the place that you're at, maybe that's hard to see, and this is just talking about shifting our thinking for the moment to this abundant place. And so if you consider, if you live in a town of, say, 100,000 people, that would mean that there are about 10,000 of those towns for every billion people. So that would mean there's 80,000 towns the size of yours, filled with potential love, potential friendships, job opportunities, connections, clients, customers, all of that. That's a lot of opportunity. So I want you to hold that in your mind. That's the Sun conjunct Jupiter. So hold that picture of abundance in your mind. And then at the same time, let's look at Venus in Taurus. Now, Venus in Taurus is about comfort and security. And so you're watching this YouTube video right now, which, YouTube's only been around for 18 years. So in the last 18 years, you've had this access to all of this information. You're watching it on a phone that didn't exist 50 years ago. So that is amazing too. And so just those items, like you may not have a lot of other stuff in your life, but if you have those items, all right, then you have this sense of comfort and security. You have something that's tangible where you can access so much. Now, we combine this feeling of having so much with the abundance of the universe, and then at that moment, make your wish for what you want to occur. Tell the universe what you want to have happen. So because you are in that place of abundance, then you can attract abundance. When you're in that place of feeling safe and secure, you can attract more of that. And the universe will deliver. The universe will bring you a gift along with a lesson, because that's how the universe works. It's not that you do some good stuff and then the universe rewards you. The universe doesn't work that way. The universe brings the gift and the lesson simultaneously. So you may have had many, many lessons, but to get more gifts, you have to work on more lessons. Now, the great thing about this quick little meditation is you can do it from the comfort of your home, that you can actually sit there and you can do this on a daily basis over the 2-week period, or you can do it just once, and it sends a message to the universe. And then once you've done that, release it. Then that is to not sit there saying, okay, when is the Amazon truck going to arrive? When is the guy going to knock on my door and say, here, this has arrived? No, you release it and you trust, you move on, or ideally, you move in the direction of that thing that you wanted, whether that is love or to start a business. You move in that direction, and then the universe will meet you. In a way, this chart reminds me of a tarot card, and that is the Four of Cups. So, I was just talking to a client, and she dabbles in the tarot, and so she had pulled this card, and she wanted to get my interpretation of it. Now, she's looking for something in her life, as we all are. And she pulls this card, and this card is an interesting card because it's not necessarily, like a happy card. It is more contemplative, and it has some deep meanings to it. And so in the card, there is a person who is sitting with their back against a tree, and their arms are folded, and in front of them are 3 cups. And they are not taking those cups. They're not sampling what's inside. And the universe has now, parted the heavens and is offering a 4th cup. And still the person doesn't move. Still they have their arms folded. And so this is this energy of, wanting that safety and security, that sense that the tree behind us gives us that backstop, that we feel like, okay, there's something solidly here. And the only way we're going to sample those cups is if we leave that security, we lean forward and take the cup. And so the energy is that you do have to take the slightest of risks. This is not a huge risk. This is just moving away from this comfortable position to reach for something new. So as you work with this energy over the next 2 weeks, as you consider what it is that you want and you start to move in that direction, you are leaning forward. You are leaving that safety, that comfort, just to stretch yourself a little bit. In fact, you may want to even do that physical exercise of reaching for something, stretching, so that you move away from the comfort and security of the moment, and just for a moment, because that's what could open the door. By the way, if you are interested in learning how to read the tarot, I have an entire video course on this topic, and so there is a link in the description. In this video, we are doing tropical Western astrology. It's a good idea to listen to your rising sign as well as your sun sign. So your rising sign or your ascending sign is going to tell you more about what's happening for you over this 2-week period, whereas your sun sign will give you messages, lessons, and insights into how you can grow. If you want to know more about your chart, I do readings. I will also send you a copy of your chart if you're looking for that. You just send me your birth information and I'll send you a PDF. I hope you'll check out my books and courses. I have, of course, the tarot course. I also put up a mini class on Flying Star for 2023 and 2024. The links are in the description. I want to thank you all for the wonderful comments you've been leaving. I really appreciate it. You know, these videos are a lot of work, but when I see the comments and the compliments, it really makes it worthwhile. So thank you. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, you guys are doing this full moon in your 7th house. That's relationships, partnerships, and collaboration. And it is referring back to that Venus in Taurus because of the rulership. And so what you're looking at is possibly some chaotic behavior in people around you where you're rather even-keeled and they're maybe are feeling out of balance. And what you're looking for is some stability, something certain, something that you can put your finger on. So they may be saying, I need help, but they're not saying what they need help with. Or they may say, you need to do this, but they're not specifying what it is that you need to do. Now, in all of this, of course, your Sun conjunct Jupiter, and so that means that when they do tell you what it is, you'll be able to handle it. So I think that the focus for you right now is looking at whether you are creating some instability in your life through your actions and seeing if you can give yourself a solid foundation, that Venus in Taurus. So, that is that you have certain things in the house that make you feel comfortable, that you have, a level of money in the bank where it's liquid and you can access it. So those sort of things help. You don't have to get everything in place with this energy, but just enough so you think, okay, I'm good for today. And that way you can focus on other things. Now, as we go through the different areas of life, I'll tell you that there's not a lot of aspects that anyone is doing. And that is because this is kind of a transition period between the volatility that we've had with all, Saturn changing signs and the energy of new beginnings and the impending eclipse. So now when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the Sun's not making an aspect with Mars. And that's okay right now because most of the planets are in your first quadrant. And that means that this is a time of self-care, not necessarily going out and looking for someone else. And so looking to yourself and seeing how you can love yourself, how you can take care of yourself, how you can cherish yourself. Those are the things that you need to focus on over this next 2 weeks. Now, when we look at existing love relationships, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, you do have the Sun in your own sign and it's conjunct Jupiter. So your abilities to do relationships right now is very strong. Of course, the full moon is lighting up that house. So there is a lot of positive relationship energy going on. Again, this is coming back to if you feel secure in the relationship, then things are going along great. But it is your sense of security, some of which is under your control. It is possible that your partner is doing things that are causing you to feel insecure, and then you have an opportunity to talk to them about that during this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus that is in your house of money, along with Mercury, North Node, and Uranus. So you have an enormous amount of activity in this house, and this activity is going to continue because the Sun will soon be there and Jupiter is coming along after that. So this is a time where you have more money-making opportunities than you've had in a while. And as I said, this energy is going to extend for several weeks or actually even a few months. So now is the time to be looking at different money-making opportunities that are already in your purview, but also thinking to yourself of what other kind of things you want to attract, whether those are job opportunities, business opportunities, or creative ideas. Now, when it comes to investments and business income, Venus is making an out-of-sign trine with Pluto. That's very good energy. It's likely that you're going to make more money over the next 2 weeks. That is, especially when you look at those unusual occurrences, the one-offs, the customer that comes in out of the blue and buys from you, or an investment that shoots up, and it may be temporary. So keeping an eye on your investments is a good idea. So what this does say that you have very good luck over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and so that's like a paycheck, Venus is not making an aspect with Uranus. And so you are showing a strong money house, but this is not a good time to be asking your boss for a raise. There could be some instability in your industry or in your company. And so you just want to basically let the boss know how you are making a contribution to the team, and then wait for this energy to line up in the future before you ask for a raise. Okay, Taurus, you guys are doing this full moon, lighting up your house of work, routines, relationships with coworkers, service to others, all the things that are sixth house. And this is connected to that Venus, which is in your own sign of Taurus. And so there is this sort of energy of you're wanting to be comfortable. You want to, stay with the things that you know, but everything around you is starting to shift in a new direction. And so it's necessary for you to look at your routines and the things that you do on a daily basis and make some tweaks. And these can be small adjustments to help you align with the energies that are happening now. And so that was a little vague. So let me get very practical with you. If you see something in your industry that is telling you that your industry is going to change, not now, but maybe in 5 years or 10 years, you can start to make some small tweaks now so that you are doing something different by then. And so that's just an example of how to use this energy. Now, the sun is conjunct Jupiter in your 12th house, and this gives you opportunities for more protection, spiritual guidance, more connection with the universe. So that means getting ideas and getting help. And so that's what is available to you now. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Mercury. And so most of this energy is about taking care of self. Mercury and Venus are in the same sign. And so there's going to be a point where they do connect. But right now, what this is looking like is self-care is more important than looking for somebody new. This is a time where you want to be introspective, to work on your shadow issues, and also just to be kind to yourself. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making an out-of-sign trine to Pluto. So together, the two of you can not just get along, not just be in harmony, but even make a breakthrough, to get past an obstacle or a past hurt. So it's out of sign energy, so that means it does take a little bit more effort, but it does look like the universe is going to facilitate something coming up from the past where you can, either offer forgiveness or ask for forgiveness, and this could be a breakthrough for the relationship to make it much better. Now, when it comes to friendships, Venus is making a sextile to Neptune, and so there is an opportunity to gain more friends over this 2-week period. With that Jupiter and Sun conjunct in your 12th house, this is a matter of just going and showing up, and wherever you sit, that was the right place to sit. Wherever you go, that was the right place to go. So when it comes to friendships and meeting new people, just allow spirit to guide you. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is now in your sign of Taurus. And so it's time to activate that Taurus talent of manifesting. And that is that when you visualize and place some emotion with that visualization, you have a great ability to manifest. And this is why you find it so much easier to manifest objects or material goods rather than actual cash. And so it's easier for you to think about the thing that you would touch or sit on or wear versus little digital dollars. And so this is a time to start thinking about what you would like to attract, and and you can do that through meditation or affirmations or writing down a list or doing prayer or lighting a candle, but do that to activate your natural Taurus energy. Now, when it comes to money from investments or from your business, you're making about the same as usual. Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. And so this energy is a little bit separated. So I think that the money is flowing in, but it's about the same. And so that might mean that marketing campaigns haven't kicked in yet, or that your customers are just being a little cautious or a little bit slow about paying you. So I think you're making about the same as usual over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. And at this point, I would say this is probably not the time to be asking for a raise. Saturn has just gone into Pisces, which is ruled by that Neptune. It's in that house for you. And so I think that it's very wise for you to kind of sit back and see where the dust settles. There has probably been some changes in your industry, maybe changes in the company itself. And so you want to see, like if your manager is going to be the same, if procedures are going to be the same, is your company going to be bought by another company? So this is just a time to kind of lay low and not kick up a lot of fuss about, things. Okay, Gemini, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of creativity, self-expression, adventure, risk. It's also romance, but there's some interesting energy connected to that. So we'll talk about that in a second. This is all referring back to that Venus, which is now approaching your sign of Gemini. It's not quite there yet. So it looks like a lot of creative ideas are ready to burst forth, or that you have been working on some creative ideas and maybe you're getting ready to present these out into the world. So it's time to put the finishing touches on things for the party. Now, the sun is conjunct Jupiter in your house of friendships, and this means that you can meet some very helpful, powerful people right now. And so you want to reach out to people through, direct messaging or through friends of friends so that you can get some help where you need it. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that moon that we've been talking about, that's in your house of creativity. And I think there's a desire to look at creative ways of making more money. Now, right now, this is connected to that very stuck almost energy of Venus and Taurus. And so that means that every time you think of an idea, you think of 12 reasons why it's not going to work. And so if you're going to come up with 12 reasons why it's not going to work, come up with 12 reasons why it will work. So try to find some balance using that moon in Libra to, not thinking that everything is a problem or nothing works for you. That is an absolute statement, and that's not in harmony with a moon in Libra. So look for some balance when you're thinking of creative ideas to make money. Now, when it comes to relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Venus. Now, the interesting thing here is that you have energy where you are out in the world, you're being seen, but it looks like your attention is elsewhere. And so it's just maybe that at this moment, you're not thinking love, love, love. Or if you're thinking, I do want love, then you're looking, to the left when the love is to the right, or vice versa. So there's some sort of disconnect here. And so you may want to talk to a friend, especially one who's already in a happy relationship, and get genuine feedback on what it is that they think you should do differently to find new love. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is not making an aspect with Jupiter. And so I think that this means that your relationship is just going along as usual. There's a lot of external focus. You have a lot of planets in the fourth quadrant, and this is about your expression out in the world. And so there's not so much going on at home. And so this might mean that the two of you are, just off in different parts of the house doing whatever you do, or you're in different locations, and so you're not interacting so much. Now, when it comes to money from investments or from your business, the moon is making a sesquiquadrant to Saturn, and so there is an opportunity. It is outside of your comfort zone, which is interesting because this full moon is in your house of risk-taking. So there is this need to leap. The sun is conjunct Jupiter, so this is a point of high confidence. So this is a time to take a risk, to look at the opportunities that are out there. And of course, this is moon in Libra, so you're going to calculate, here's the upside, here's the downside, and figure out if this is worthy of taking a risk. But then you do have the ability now to step outside of your comfort zone and make more money. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, there is no aspect going on between Moon and Mars. It is also that your ruler, which is Mercury, is in your 12th house. And so you're just very hidden right now. And so it's really hard for you to, go to the boss and say, this is my contribution, when maybe the project's not done yet, or maybe they're gone, or there's something that is making you not as visible. Additionally, Saturn is elevated in your chart right now. It's newly in Pisces. And so there may be some changes going on in your industry or in your company itself. And so you want to wait until the dust settles before you start suggesting that you want more money. Okay, Cancer, you guys are doing this full moon in your 4th house. That is home and family. That's the area that's lit up. That's where the most energy is. And this is connected to that Venus in your 11th house, which is your friends. And so there is something going on about friendships and your family. Maybe you have some event going on, and so you're going to mix friends and family. Maybe your friends are your family, and so, somebody's coming to stay with you. And so we have some really interesting energy there. This is especially interesting if there's a conflict between your family and your friends, differences in opinions, different sports teams, different politics, something like that. So this is where you're trying to get comfortable in these different groups and finding some harmony or balance. You also have some great career energy going on right now because the sun is moving to conjunct Jupiter in your 10th house. That's your career. So this is a time to post your resume, have an interview, to, tell the world what it is that you do. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's not making an aspect with Pluto. However, there is so much elevated energy in your chart. It's easy for you to meet someone. It may be, though, that either you're not really looking, or when they arrive, you are thinking, this is not the person. And so if you've been looking for a long time, you might want to just go out with them anyway and, see if you get along on that date. Otherwise, just say, all right, you know what? I'm just going to wait 2 weeks and then get back into the game. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a sesquiquadrate to Saturn. So there is something that is a little bit like it's good, but it has some work attached to it. And so that is maybe the two of you are coming together to do a project. And you're not really looking forward to the project, but at least you're spending some together time. And so that part's good. I don't know, maybe you're doing your taxes together or something, building furniture or something. So something, you're coming together for something that's difficult, but because you're doing that, you're becoming a stronger unit. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from the sun, which is moving to conjunct Jupiter. This is one of your strongest times for making money. That means that if you were going to launch some sort of marketing campaign, now is the time to do it. As I said before, launching your resume, letting people know that you're looking for a job. Any of those money-making activities, this is a time to push forward. Now, when it comes to money from business and money from your investments, the sun is making a semi-sextile to Uranus, and so there are opportunities. It's very important that you pay attention to the little details. Those are the things that are going to make you the money, and so that is remembering to send the invoice, remember to send the reminders, look at some of your investments, see if something needs to be cashed in or diversified. So checking those things is what brings you the profits, and you do show more profits over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, like a paycheck, even though the sun is not making an aspect with Venus, you have a full house, 11th house, that's Mercury, North Node, Uranus, and Venus, as well as that elevated sun, Jupiter. So I do think you could ask for a raise at this time. You would make some progress. But the easiest thing is if you're transitioning into a new job to negotiate for a higher salary before you get in. That is where you really show the strength, where you can find the better job and get more money. So that's where you could be focusing your energy. Okay, Leo, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of communication. This is also logistics, movement, neighbors, siblings, paperwork, things like that. This is all the third house. And this is connected to that Venus, which is in your 10th house of career. And so there's very much a lot of thinking and communication going on about how you're presenting yourself out in the world, whether that is through a job or through your social media or whatever your calling is or your career is. Sometimes our career isn't our calling. And so that's... And at the same time, the sun is making that conjunction to Jupiter in your house of education and knowledge. And so it shows that you have the knowledge, but that somewhere along the line, the communication, either from an external source like your company is telling you things and that's making you feel unstable in the job or the industry is becoming unstable, or that you are saying negative things to yourself and this is creating some instability out into the world in your life. So, and of course, part of that is under your control, and that is to remind yourself that you do have skills and you can gain more skills, and if you can focus on the positive, then things out in the world will seem like they are stabilizing for you. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making a conjunction to Jupiter. And so there is a great opportunity for you to meet somebody new for a love relationship. Now, this might be through the usual means of, online dating and things like that, but this is also connected to travel, education, and spirituality. So that means going to church or temple, going to classes, going to do anything where you are gaining things in the area of knowledge or meeting people from foreign places. All of these things can help you meet somebody new. Additionally, most of your planets are elevated, so you're very easy to be found right now. So you just have to step out the door with that moon in that house of communication, saying positive things to yourself. That's going to really help. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making a semi-sextile to Uranus. So there are opportunities to strengthen this relationship by taking care of some of the details. Again, everything right now is focused for you on communication. And so if you feel like you're not being listened to or that the two of you are arguing, is maybe to step back and look at the things that trigger the argument and the certain words that are used and try different words. And that could unravel this problem quite easily. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mercury, which is elevated in your chart. It's the highest point. And so there are so many money-making opportunities all around you. Now, this is full moon energy, and so these might be things that you've been thinking of for a while. But this is also looking around and seeing what other people are doing, and from that, gathering some seeds that you could plant on the next new moon, which of course will be the solar eclipse. And so this is a time where you might be getting ideas that could generate a huge harvest for you in 6 months or a year. So right now, this is about writing down ideas and talking to people about your own ideas, putting things out into the world if you have them ready, and that could generate you money. Now, when it comes to your investments or money derived from business, you're making about the same as usual, possibly a little bit less, because I do see some investments going out, and that might be investments in equipment or investments in, consulting or just buying investments. And then, of course, as they usually go, you buy an investment, it drops a little bit. And then, so it's possible because Saturn's now in that house for you, and it's just brand new there. And so that means that there's a little bit of chaos going on. And when the dust settles, then things can start to climb again. So right now you're making about the same as usual, or you have a little less cash flow because you're investing in your business or your investments. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, you have some very good energy because, as we said before, that Mercury is elevated and it is conjunct the North Node. It says that if you feel that it's time to ask for a raise or to look for another job and negotiate a higher salary through that, this is the time. You are in harmony with the energies. And so this is time to say to your supervisor, let's sit down and talk about my career path. It is also a time to, if you want a new job, to go out and push for that because you could get some real benefits, more money as well as benefits when you get the new job. Okay, Virgo, you guys are doing this full moon, lighting up your house of money. And this is connected to that Venus, which is very much at the top of your chart. And so there's very much this energy of you saying, okay, I can make more money, I want to make more money, but I need to have this education or these connections, or I need to be in this type of career. And so there's some things that feel a little unstable in this area where you're needing to make a change. That's okay, Virgo, because you know how to make incremental changes. You know how to continually improve something. And so this is improving your skill set, improving your resume if you're looking for a job, improving how you communicate your accomplishments to your boss, improving how you communicate about your products or services out into the community. So all of these things are what you're working on now. This also says that with that full moon, this is about how you value yourself. And so it's about putting that back into balance. Maybe you were just all work and no play, or all other people and not much yourself. And so there's a need to put that energy back into balance too. The Sun conjunct Jupiter is in your house of resources, and this means that right now you can get loans, you can possibly get lower interest rates, you can get more credit, you can get help in a lot of different areas. Now, when it comes to love relationships, the Mercury is making a perfect sextile to Saturn, and that means that this is one of the best times for you to meet someone new, especially for an intimate relationship that is going to last long term. So if this is something that's been on your mind, go find the matchmaker, go get online, go out into the world, especially where you're with groups of people, in like education, travel locations, in church or temple, any of these types of areas you could really meet someone. Go to investment meetings, go get into clubs where they, play amateur detective, all of these sort of different activities that you might really enjoy doing already. That's where you're going to meet this person. Now, when it comes to your existing love relationship, Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune, and Saturn now has gone into this house. And so there is maybe some strain going on in the relationship, and you don't necessarily know what the solution is at the moment. Because of this transition of Saturn, you may have to wait until the dust settles a little bit to see what's really going on, how you feel about it, how they feel about it, and then you can come together outside of this 2-week period to discuss it. So right now, what's important is to kind of do your own thing and let them do their own thing. And so, because if you try to work out problems right now very aggressively, you're going to be like speaking different languages. So if you have some sort of moderator, like if you are seeing a marriage counselor, then that person is the translator, and then they will help you figure out where the disconnect is. But otherwise, if you can wait 2 weeks, just do that. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Venus. that is elevated in your chart. We already said the full moon is lighting up this house. You have more money-making opportunities than you've had in a while. And so you're going to have more ideas that are not time yet. And so you want to write those down. This is in your house of writing and teaching and learning. And so journal these ideas or capture them somehow so that you can use them later. Put out the things that are done in the world right now, but the ones that are new ideas, don't rush to push those out. Just write down the idea and save it for later. Now, when it comes to money from your business or from your investments, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, you do have the full moon energy going on, plus the sun's making a conjunction to Jupiter in this house. And so I do see you making more money than usual. It's possible that the money doesn't reach your account quite yet. And so it may reach your account just outside this 2-week period. It's also possible that you're seeing investments go up, but it's not quite time to sell them, and that's why we're not doing the aspect. But the energy is very positive for your business and your investments over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so this is like a paycheck, you're doing strong money energy, as we've been talking about. The ruler of your 11th house is in your 2nd house. That's fantastic. The ruler of your 8th house is in the 11th house. Again, fantastic. So there's connections, but it does mean, because there's not an aspect between Venus and the moon, that you may have to chase down your supervisor, or your supervisor may say, yes, absolutely, but it can't be right now. And so what I think would be the easiest is to get perks, and that would be more time off, more flexible schedule, maybe a discount on something. That's what really shows up strongly now, rather than actual extra cash in your wallet. Okay, Libra, this is your full moon. So this marks the halfway point of your lunar year. So in the cycle that is the 12 months on the farm, that means that you're past the spring, you're past the summer, and you're going into the harvest season, the fall. And so this is a time where you're looking around and saying, what can you pull in? And that is, relationships that were kind of tenuous. Now you can pull those in and make them a friendship, make them a partnership. Money-making opportunities, now you can start to pull those in and cash in on those. And so this is a bigger cycle than this 2 weeks, because this is going to last about 3 months. And so this is a time over this next 3 months where you do want to launch things. And of course, if you can time it more precisely, launching on the full moon, that's fantastic. But if you can't, it's still okay, because you're in your harvest period. Now, where you're feeling that things are unstable is that Venus in Taurus, and that's in your area of, oddly enough, banking. And so, of course, there's been a lot of turmoil about the banking system. And so what's important is to focus on you, because this is your full moon, and not let the externals of the world upset you. And so, no matter what the economy is, you can prosper. No matter what is going on, you can prosper. And that's the affirmation that you need to have. Additionally, you have Sun conjunct Jupiter in your house of partnerships, collaborations, and relationships. Very, very good energy for getting help, for finding someone who's going to help you with anything from your website to emotional things. So you have really good energy for connecting with others right now. So don't focus on the instability in the world, but focus on one-on-one connections. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is not making an aspect with Uranus. However, you have a full house of relationships and a full house of intimacy. So what can happen is you could meet someone, but it just doesn't gel. And so you might want to wait, out till we get outside this 2-week period, until this energy lines up. It's also possible that you meet someone and it's kind of a flash in the pan, like you're really excited about each other for a couple of weeks and then it just kind of fizzles. So if you're looking for a long-term relationship, then you want to look outside this 2-week period. But if you are looking for something sort of fun right now, you could meet somebody. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, you have such a strong relationship energy this time with the full moon in the first house and Sun conjunct Jupiter in the seventh house, that your relationship could come together and be very strong. It's less about you working on the relationship and more about enjoying each other. That's what this energy is talking about not just enjoying the time you spend together, but as a couple, when you're out in the world, other people are admiring you. And so that brings, then you bring home that confidence of, yeah, we do have a good relationship and we can work on the parts, to make it better. Now, when it comes to your money, there has been some major changes for you. Pluto, you pull money from, of course, Pluto, and Pluto is now in Aquarius. It's going to be there for a couple of months. It's gone into your house of risk-taking and adventure. And then Mars is elevated in your chart. It's the highest up. And so this is a time where you really do want to put yourself out there and say, this is what I do, and this is what I'm interested in. Now, Pluto's going to duck back into your fourth house, and that will give you some time to, hone some of these ideas and, think these things through. But right now, you just want to put it out there. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working on. And money opportunities are going to start to arrive. Now, when it comes to money derived from your business or investments, not only do you have a full eighth house, but Venus is making an out-of-sign trine to Pluto, so it's very likely you'll be making more money over the next 2 weeks. I think the thing to focus on is looking at the things that you do on a regular basis and seeing what you can do slightly differently, not so much to bring instability, but just to bring a sense of versatility and an ability to pivot. And so that might mean that you are, if you're generally fully invested, maybe you're keeping a little cash. If you, do marketing a certain way, you're just tweaking things, maybe just changing just the color or just the font or something small. So, but you do look like you're making more money over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the sun's not making an aspect with Pluto. I had to check, and it's not making an aspect with Mars. Now, you have some very good energy for connections and partnerships and things like that. I think that you could have a talk with your supervisor and they're going to say they love you. They just don't have the funds right now. So asking for a raise is going to be a little bit difficult. Mars is elevated in your chart, so you might look for a different job. That's a possibility. And then you could negotiate. But again, the negotiation would be a lot around perks rather than actual money. So I think that if you're looking for a raise, you just want to wait until this energy lines up in the future. Okay, Scorpio, you guys are doing this full moon in your 12th house. That's psychic ability, spirituality, also where you look at your shadow self, the parts of you that you are working to improve. And that is referring to that Venus in your 7th house of relationships, which means that a lot of people right now are your mirror. That is, if somebody is irritating you, look within and say, okay, how am I doing this thing in a different way? How does what they're doing that's annoying me give me a message about things that I could do for myself? Now, this is also with that Sun, Jupiter in your 6th house of daily routines, habits. And so it may be that you look at somebody who gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and goes and works out and then comes home and, works on their music or something like that and then goes to work. And so you look at that routine and you say, okay, what are those parts that I could adopt? What are the parts that could work for me? Or honing things down to, very practical lessons, so going through some of those videos where they say, these are the 5 most important things for XXX. So, yeah, I don't know if I should say XXX. That sounds bad. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making an out-of-sign sextile with Pluto. And you also have a full 7th house. That's all fantastic. But now Saturn is in this house and it's going to be there for a while. And so the Saturn says that you might be feeling like that the finding new love is hard. Like the fun is gone, that it's just too much work, or you've been disappointed too many times. And so it's time to shift the narrative, time to change how you talk about this to yourself. And that might mean showing up to dating things without thinking about dating. That might mean allowing somebody to fix you up on a date, but not being concerned about the outcome or who you meet, just trying to find why this person is interesting. So I think that a shift right now, especially until you can feel more in harmony with this Saturn energy, which you will. Saturn's going through a water sign. You are a water sign, so this energy will line up. So, but right now, I think it just feels a little bit off kilter. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the story is entirely different. Venus is making a trine to Pluto. It's an out-of-sign trine, but it's still there. Plus, in that house, you have Mercury, North Node, Uranus, and Venus. And so you have really good energy when it comes to love relationships. Pluto's down in the 4th house. So maybe you're talking about living together and you're figuring out what you're going to do with 2 sofas and, 2 ice cream scoops and all of that. This is also, it's possible that you're just meeting friends and family, like you're making your relationship official some way. So we have very good energy when it comes to existing love relationships for you, especially over the next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to friendships, Mercury's making a square to Pluto. So you have some opportunities to meet new people who could become very important friends in your future. That, with the very strong 7th house, says go out and meet the friends of your friends, meet like-minded people, go to meetings, go to events, so that you can meet new people, because you could find some great friends that last, that the friendship lasts. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Jupiter, which is now lit up by the sun. And so this does say that when you are looking at your talents and your abilities and your skill set, it's getting stronger and stronger. And so if you feel that there's some holes, the sun here is to light that up and say, learn this little piece of that little piece so that you feel like you're ready. This is also is that looking at your routines, the sun is putting a spotlight on that and saying, where are things kind of slacking off? Where do you need to rev things up again? Or where do you need more balance? And so this opportunity here shows that you have potential for more money coming in from lots of different sources, new ideas. So you want to utilize this energy. Now, when it comes to money derived from your business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual. Jupiter is not making an aspect with Mercury, so this energy will line up in the future. Right now is that things are going very well, but the actual money is not reaching your account yet. So it may be somebody says they are buying or they purchase, but they don't need to pay you yet. Investments are starting to go up, but there's no reason to get the profits yet. So you do show really good money energy. It's just that the profits aren't quite there yet. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that is like a paycheck, you're pulling a lot of energy from that Mercury right on the descendant, and that means other people are involved. So this is, if you want to make more money in your job, one of the things you need to do is establish stronger relationships with the people you work with. And so if you've been a remote worker, you might want to, go meet somebody for coffee, or at least Zoom coffee. You want to have more conversations with your boss. You want to connect on a more personal level, and that's going to lead to more money in your paycheck. Okay, Sagittarius, you guys are doing this full moon in your house of friendships, technology, the future. This is your 11th house, and it is lighting up this energy. And so that is that you might be very aware of how much the future is changing right now. This might mean new friends, new connections. Now, all of this energy is referring back to that Venus in Taurus in your 6th house of work and routines. So some of this is that maybe people that you work with, you're no longer working with them. Perhaps you have new friends you can meet, but there does feel that there is some instability in work and your daily routines that is either helping you meet new people and helping you connect, or feeling like it's pulling you away from friendships and connections. And so now this also, what we see is that Sun conjunct Jupiter in your 5th house. That is about risk-taking, adventure, self-expression. And so it may be that you are leaving a 9-to-5 job so that you can go do your creative work, so that you can go do your own business. And so that also, though, means that some of the camaraderie that you had before, you can't meet them on the job. You have to go meet them elsewhere. And so that moon in that 11th house, highlighting friendships, that's what that's talking about. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have a very nice 5th house. It's got Chiron, Sun, and Jupiter. And so we start off with Chiron. That's a little difficult. We end on Jupiter. That's fantastic. And the ruler, your chart ruler, is in that house. And so that's also very nice. But currently, there's no aspect going on between Mars and Jupiter. And so that's the one thing that's kind of holding things back. And because Mars is in the 8th house, I would say that you're likely to meet someone who wants an intimate relationship rather than a complete relationship. And so if you're looking for something that is very physical, you have really good energy. Otherwise, you want to wait until outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect going on between Mercury and Jupiter, so everything's just going along as usual. Now, you have a very strong 2nd quadrant in this chart, and that is about service to others. And so to help your relationship along, that means you are likely needing to be of service. They are more in a receiving mode. So that is that maybe they need more help with things, maybe they're very busy, and you have some extra time, although it doesn't look like you do. So the energy here, though, is first give and then receive, and that helps the relationship. But overall, this relationship's just going along as it has been before. Now, when it comes to friendships, you have some very good energy here. Jupiter's making a semi-sextile to Venus, as well as that being the full moon location. So this is an excellent time to go meet some new friends. That means that you might want to go to some hobby groups, or go to a convention or a conference, or somewhere where you can meet people who are interested in the same things that you are. And then you have an opportunity to meet some friends. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Saturn, which is now in Pisces. It has crossed the angle, so something major may have already occurred where your company has, been bought by another company, or announced a new direction, or you are realizing that some of the technology is going to materially change your job over the next 3 to 5 years. Now, it's very interesting that this Saturn is making an exact sextile to Mercury, which rules your midheaven. So there are some major opportunities here, especially related to career. And so that is, and it doesn't need to be the job that you're working now. This may be a career that you're trying to launch. And so this is a time where we're seeing that sextile and opportunity. And so something could come about. I love that configuration of the energy where it's like everything seems to be dancing together to make something happen. That Sun Jupiter, for example, in your house of risk-taking, for you taking a chance on yourself and moving forward. So I really like your money-making energy for this next 2 weeks. Now, when it comes to investments or money from your business, the moon's making a sesquiquadrate to Saturn, and so there is some money-making opportunities. These come with extra responsibilities. So this is, the idea that maybe you launch some extra products, but now you have to maintain those products. You get many more clients, but now you need to make sure that you service all those clients. So there, it's a little bit of a mixed bag with the sesquiquadrate. It says show more money coming in over this 2-week period. That's great, but there's a little bit more effort that's needed because of it. And then when it comes to money derived from career, and so that's like a paycheck, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, this is where the full moon is. And so it's lit up, and that does mean that you can make more money. Now, this directly refers to that Venus in the 6th house, and that means that they're going to turn around and say, okay, now that we've given you more money, we want you to work more hours, or here's a special project, or here's some team members, some who you like, some who you don't like. So there's going to be a little quid quo pro about this. And so that it's necessary for you to weigh that if you are looking for more money in your job over this next 2 weeks. I think I keep saying quid quo pro, but I think it's quid pro quo. And I think somebody tried to correct me in the comments last time. I'm going to have to look that up. That's probably why I keep stumbling over it. Okay, Capricorn, this full moon is lighting up your house of career. It's at the top of your chart. It's making you more visible. And that means that things that you put out into the world can be seen by others. That includes social media or any projects that you're working on. So you are more easily seen. That helps your resume rise to the top. And this is then referring back down to that Venus in your house of creativity and risk-taking. And it's an interesting dynamic because in general, you like to be careful with your risks. You like to weigh the pros and cons, and this is no exception. It is just that now, in this time where there's so much creativity, there is so many different things where technology is merging with creativity, where you feel that it's a bit unstable. This is where you might feel a little bit nervous about things. And so this is where you want to give yourself kind of a little bit of time to talk to yourself about the situation of where you think things are going and how it's going to specifically affect your life and your career and the way you interact with the world. Now, at the same time, the sun is conjunct Jupiter right at the base of your chart. This is your foundation, and it's strong. And this means that your capabilities of learning new skills and adapting is excellent. And that's something you want to lean into. And so this might mean that you are pulling energy even from ancestors, where maybe you had somebody who, like they were a farmer and they became a business person, or, somebody who was just a housewife but then started her own business. So something, to show you that adaptation is so possible. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Saturn, you have a very strong house of, love and fun. And that is the 5th house, Mercury, North Node, Uranus, and Venus are there. So there's definitely opportunities to meet someone. Now, because there's no aspect going on, it may not gel right away, and so it may gel outside this 2-week period, but certainly try to meet them in person if possible, and connect and see how you feel about each other, but then reserve any serious judgment for outside the 2-week period. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the moon's making a sesquiquadrant to Saturn, and so there's a lot of strong energy here. Mars is in that house. You have a very strong 4th house of home and family. So there's a lot of energy going on. You have opportunities to work things out if you have the time. And that's where the rub is, because maybe you have guests from out of town, or maybe there's things going on with other relatives. So it feels like it's more like you're coming together as a couple to work on something that's external. And this, then when the dust settles, you say, wow, we really work well together as a team, especially on this. And that helps strengthen the relationship. But I think that this is more that you're kind of the dynamic duo right now. Now, when it comes to friendships, Saturn's making a semi-sextile to Pluto. This is one of those energies that it's going to come for a long, long period of time, and then it's going to disappear for a long period of time. And so while we're doing these couple of months, and I say over and over, you have this opportunity to make new friends. You want to avail yourself of that. And so now the only caveat right now is, even though the moon is elevated, most of your planets are below the horizon, you do have Mars in your 7th house. That helps, but this is probably meeting somebody who's close to home. And so that is, they're in your neighborhood, they're in your community, or that there are somebody maybe that you knew in the periphery before, and now you can become a closer friend. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Uranus in your house of creativity and exploration, as well as that Saturn that is now in Pisces. And so that means that probably some major change has already happened. If it hasn't, you do see the winds of change coming. Now, the fact that you have the Uranus there does give you some ability to shift. It's in Taurus now, so you just don't want to, but you can. And so that's where you want to lean into the Saturn in Pisces, which is much more fluid. That Saturn, takes a structure, and the Pisces kind of dissolves it. And then from that, something new can form. And so that's where you need to be thinking about these different ideas. Of course, Pluto is now in this house for you. That is transformational. That's energy where you can, get rid of negative messages from childhood about money. You can remove blocks. You can embrace some of the things that you can do, your strengths, your power in this area. You're only going to have this for a few months, and then Pluto's going to go back into your own sign of Capricorn, where you're very familiar with it. And so this is an opportunity where you want to look at new ideas and or launch something that you already have ready. Now, when it comes to money from your business or from investments, the sun's making a semi-sextile to Uranus. So there are opportunities to make more money than usual over this next 2 weeks. I don't think it's a lot extra. I think it's just a little tiny bit. And most of it is kind of used up because you have to pay attention to a lot of details to get it. So it's like somebody does an upsell, but it's more effort because you have to send them the item or something, and then you lose money on the postage. Or so you're making at least the same amount as usual. I think you're going to make a little bit more if you put in the effort, because it's a lot of little details that you have to do to get it. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so like a paycheck, let's see, I have to go check. Saturn's making a semi-sextile to Pluto, and Mars is making a trine to Saturn. So basically the two rulers of your 11th house are making an aspect to the co-ruler of your 2nd. So it's a little bit remote, but I do love that Mars trine. So I do think you can make more money in your job if you ask for it. If you say, this is what I've been doing, this is the foundation I bring in, this is my skill set, this is where I'm adding, this is my accomplishments. And so you put all that together and you stand on that pedestal, and I think you can make more money than usual. Okay, Aquarius, you guys are doing this full moon in your 9th house. That's about writing, teaching, publishing. Also, spirituality from a very formal standpoint, like going to church. This is also about travel and legal matters. And this energy is referring back down to that Venus, which is in your 4th house of home and family. So a lot of what we're talking about when it comes to, say, travel or legal things are all coming back down to family. And so that might mean that you are dealing as a family with some of these issues, or maybe you're traveling to see family, or maybe some of the education that you're doing is directly related to your family business. So there are some connections there. Now, the sun is conjunct Jupiter in your house of thinking, process, and communication. This is also about contracts. And so you're very lucky in this area right now. This means you can absorb new information like a sponge. You may have been, running after all this new tech stuff and, just taking in it all. You may get a contract that you've been waiting to sign, and so you want to read that over carefully, of course, but it does look like it may be very signable, and so that the provisions that you were looking for are there. So you have some very good energy in these areas. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's not making an aspect with Uranus. Now, that means that, it's more challenging right now for you to meet someone who is truly compatible. The moon is elevated, so I think you could meet someone, but it's first of all, almost every planet is below the horizon, so it's like you're not even getting out of the house. You're not going out anywhere. And then when you do, you seem to be focused elsewhere, and so you're not really thinking about it. And like when you are thinking about it, they're not there, and when you are not thinking about it, they're right in front of you. So you might want to wait until outside this 2-week period when this energy will line up in the future. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the sun's making a semi-sextile to Uranus, so there is an opportunity to come together for better communication and to work out some of the details at home. You can take small problems and put your heads together and come up with good solutions, and that helps strengthen the relationship. So you have very good energy for that. Now, when it comes to friendships, Jupiter's making a semi-sextile to Uranus. And so again, we see an opportunity by working with others to establish some friendships. Now, the one caveat is that we show you're not going out very much. So this is very local. So this is like neighbors or, just in the surrounding community. And so this is, keeping it local is where you're going to meet the people for friendships. So that's your local church, your local clubs, your local YMCA. Those sort of places are where you're going to meet friends. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Neptune as usual, as well as the Jupiter, which is now conjunct the Sun. So that bodes very well. Now, the interesting thing is, of course, Saturn is now in this house. That's your slow growth wealth planet. And at the beginning, we have to emphasize the slow part. So it may feel like your cash flow is very constricted, that your money-making opportunities are very constricted. This is where Saturn is suggesting in a very firm way that you climb the mountain. And what that means is doing the hard stuff, keeping a budget, paying attention to, your investments and the money coming in, even taking your paycheck and calculating it out to make sure you're getting paid what you should be paid. So this is doing the hard work, brings in much more than you've ever had. So you want to take those steps. This, Saturn is going to be there for 3 years, so you don't have to do this all at once. So right now, it's just in transition, so you're seeing how things are as the dust settles. Now, when it comes to income from your business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual, perhaps a little bit less because you might be doing some outgo for investments in maybe equipment or just general investments. There's no aspect going on between Mercury and Neptune. And so, as I said, I think you're making about the same as usual, but you might have less cash flow right now because you're doing some important investments. Now, when it comes to money from a paycheck, money derived from career, there's a semi-sextile going on between Neptune and Jupiter. So this is an opportunity to ask for more money. You have that Sun Jupiter in your house of communication, so perfect time for negotiation. You need to look at the details, get all the ducks in a row before you make your presentation. They may ask you some questions, but you'll be ready to answer them. So I see you have the potential of getting a raise over the next 2 weeks. Okay, Pisces, you guys are doing this full moon, lighting up your 8th house. That is resources from others, intimacy, power, control. So this is where you are really focusing a lot of energy to say where you have power, where you have control over things, where you don't have control. And this is referring back to Venus in your house of communication and thinking process. So a lot of this is hinged on how you are seeing the situation. What is your story that you're telling yourself about the situation? And as you change the story, your power dynamic does change. and the amount of resources you get can change. Now, the sun is making that conjunction with Jupiter in your house of money, so the resources could really be there. And this also indicates that you have lots of ideas for money-making things, probably things you can't do during a full moon time, but maybe on the next new moon, which, by the way, will be a solar eclipse, life-changing stuff, and new moons going forward, you'll be able to implement some of these ideas. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's not making an aspect with Neptune. It's interesting because Mars is in this house, the 5th house of romance, and the moon's in the 8th house of intimacy. So I think that you could find someone for a very short relationship that's quite physical. So I think it's called a one-night stand. So you could find somebody for that, but if you're looking for a long term, this is not the 2-week period that you want to be looking. And then when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury's not making an aspect with Neptune. And so the relationship's just kind of going along as it has been. There's a great deal of focus right now on you and self-care. And so because the first quadrant has the majority of the planets. And so it's very important for you to focus on yourself and allow your relationship to be as it is. You may come out of this 2-week period and be ready to work on the relationship, but right now it's about taking care of you. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from that Mars in Cancer in your 5th house of creative endeavors, personal expression, as well as risk and adventure. And you also have that Sun conjunct Jupiter in your money house. And so this is a really great combination for making something happen when it comes to business. So if you have something ready to launch, this is the time to do it. It's a full moon time. So this is where you want to take something that's finished and show the world. So if you're just getting a lot of ideas, which you might be because you have a full 3rd house, then just make sure you write down these ideas so that you can flesh these out later, so that you can bring these to life in a later cycle. So we do see, though, there's an emphasis on how you can be creative, how you can express yourself, and where you should take risks, where can you have the adventure. So that's where we're seeing your strengths. Now, when it comes to money from your business or money from investments, even though Venus is not making an aspect with Mars, this is where the full moon is. So this is lit up. And so I do think that more money is coming in than usual. It's possible that the biggest checks are coming outside the 2-week period. So, and, but they're there and you see them coming. And so, it's just a matter of a few days here or there. But you have very strong energy for making more profits, for expanding what you're doing, getting more customers, having more territory, etc. over this next 2 weeks. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that's like a paycheck, Mars is making a trine to Saturn. So this is one of your best opportunities for asking for a raise. The sun is lighting up your house of money. It's conjunct Jupiter, which makes it visible what you know how to do, what your skill set is, how you're contributing. And so this is a great time for you to ask your supervisor, what can I do? And, to get more money in my paycheck. This is also a great time to, if you're looking for a job, to negotiate for a higher salary that way. So I see more money coming to you over the next 2 weeks. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned because LaRue wants to say hi.